Velma, episode 4, the 5th most watched series on Max, which I think gives us hope for the future, that no matter how mentally deficient you are, you can still have a hit Hollywood series yourself. It just goes to show incompetence isn't a problem if everyone else has lower standards.
Previously on Velma.
We start with a recap because they know that you've already wiped out their previous 20 minutes of episode as soon as the credits rolled. The only people that remember this show are those into self-injury.
What's great about best friends is that they know the real you.
That's why Velma's best friends always pushed her off a bridge.
Are you sure I'll like Beyonce?
Trust me, you're gonna love her.
Tell you what, Beyonce's changed since I last saw her. Has she been working out? Then again, she looks like the back end of a horse nowadays. It's worth noting during that whole thing, they don't actually show Beyonce because then presumably they'd have to pay her. We can name drop though, right? The lawyers are fine with that. Gotcha. Of course, Daphne and the lunatics are all off into some weird... Well, they're probably going to end up like banging on a tree or something, burning a man made of straw.
Stop! No one in their right mind is still making 80s references.
Well, not in Hollywood because they've lost their sense of taste. I think the general audience, though, prefers to be reminded of when things were good. While Velma sets her dad on fire with a burning pine cone. No, I'm not joking.
So let's just burn some sage to...
It's a pine cone.
This isn't sage, Daphne. It's an old pine cone.
I'm not sure that would change anything. Set your dad on fire with sage or a pine cone. Surely the fire bit is the problem. Over to Fred and his van that has been, stained.
Out of the van for 6 hours as you and Velma's mom loudly fought that ghost in here.
Yes, there was a lot of ectoplasm covering the walls and a bit on the roof.
Yes, well, anything to help my son find the ghost that possessed his mother.
Really possessed Velma's mother last night, didn't you?
You're doing the right thing pretending to believe him.
Also, we get this cool van to bang in.
And do everything the teacher says, unless he's a pervert.
Is this set in California? Because if it is, I mean, that's basically guaranteed.
Use your judgment. Or if he's a pervert, you pepper spray.
Or she. We're equal opportunity around these parts. Norval's parents, though, are still worried about him because he lost his empathy in the end of the last episode.
He just called the mailman a blue shorts wearing bitch.
Is he wrong? I've seen American postmen. They just leave the package on the doorstep to get nicked. If they're too scared to knock on the door and hand it to you. Seems like an apt description.
He's not wrong, but still.
Finally, I found something to agree with. But we have a flashback with Velma's dad back to when he was in high school.
They just discovered global warming in our pants.
I think it's good to know that the local area hasn't changed. It was always as degenerate as the modern day. It's the best thing about the Velma show. It really makes you think that oppression might have been the right course of action after all.
Maybe this trip down memory lane is better solo.
Welcome to the Quickie Mart, because her friends have rejected the absolute nutcase without giving them a chance.
Like they were a female late-night talk show host.
That's because you already know before you've even seen them that they're not going to be funny. Oh, how do you know their show's not going to be entertaining? Well, it's because it's got the words female and talk in it. It's the same reason why with that character, you really can judge a book by its cover. The cover was intended to be judged. That's why the cover decided to look like that in the first place. Oh, aren't I edgy and unique? No, that's why you look like all the other degenerates. So the blonde's like, look, we're already the popular kids, which have actually ended up with the ugly kid and a brain in a jar. And let's face it, Velma looks worse than the brain in the jar. Of course, Norval thinks if I apologize, I can get us out of here. Don't worry, my empathy's come back.
I'm so sorry that you're a little bitty baby.
Yes, that is the grand total of creativity that Velma is capable of. I mean, if they wanted better insults than that, they could have just fed me whiskey. I would have done it for free.
But there's only one thing that'll end detention, and it's not an apology.
Is it Velma jumping off a roof? Because if it is, I'm here for it. Let's end this series how it deserves.
Oh, here comes the perv stuff.
What? No.
Yeah, not with you, love. I mean, ew. There comes a point where your paranoia is just self-aggrandizement.
See, as your guidance counselor, it's my job to monitor your well-being.
A rather awkward pose after her previous accusation, isn't it? Ah, yes. Let me do this stretch right in front of your face. No, it's my job to monitor your well-being, which I've been doing through the CCTV.
Principal Rogers said those are for a Japanese reality show.
I don't know if you know much about Japan, but their TV tends to have Japanese people in it. They don't have the same brand of nutcase as Hollywood. They actually like themselves. The only time you'd entertain Japan is the aforementioned jumping off a roof.
Unsafe American high school.
And it turns out Velma thinks that someone getting vaporized was on their entertainment show. Which admittedly, if it happened to Velma, I'd be wetting myself. I'd probably have to buy a new chair.
I know each of you is dealing with a common teen issue.
Liking Harry Potter?
Who am I?
I'm sorry, but if Daphne doesn't even know her own name, she's got bigger issues.
Girlfriend is now a witch.
I thought he was going to say how to keep someone when you're punching above your weight.
Hold on. Saturday Detention? Teens reduced to a single character trait?
Is this a stereotype of a writer that's too inept to write television? I mean, if we point it out, it'll get let us off the hook, as people will just assume it's satire rather than lack of capacity. So they're doing a breakfast club, which apparently just means we've got to talk to each other.
But teens are over 80s references.
Says Mindy Kaling, famous teenager. Yeah, she's really down with the kids.
And yet, every time pop culture tries to move forward...
Remember, they think this is pop culture trying to move forwards. It's progressing! Yeah, but should we ask where? And if it's landfill, are we sure we want to progress over there? Maybe we should roll it backwards.
And we all have to moonwalk back to 1982.
1982. Those were the days. Back when we had Blackadder rather than Velma. She's right, comedy has changed in those years. It's rotted.
Nobody cares anymore!
True, but that's due to the low standard in comedy that you've made nobody care anymore.
I see, and you all feel this way about 80s references?
That's because they're all written by the same pissing person that has no taste.
Relax, I'm just going to pee. Something girls didn't start doing until 90s independent films.
Really goes to show the extent of female liberation, doesn't it? I'm so oppressed, and I'm not going to stop being oppressed until you can have me urinating. I want to be a free, liberated, disgusting individual. Nothing needs to be private anymore. Don't worry, Daphne, there are some things that you can definitely keep to yourself. Nobody cares. That's why the next scene is set in a toilet.
I'm not that mad.
I came in thinking you might cram me in the tampon dispenser.
I'm still for it, personally. Mad or not, I think that would actually be one of the funniest parts of the show.
That's just it. Being popular is all about power and domination.
At least if you've got XX chromosomes.
If I were a rich white dude, I'd kill everybody just to get away with it.
That's why I suggest we prove it and shove her in the dispenser. What the hell, we might as well wrap her in plastic at the same time. If you're gonna do a job, do it properly. But in walks the person that looks like someone's attacked a badger with a pair of clippers.
Amber, I have nothing against you personally.
I do. Look, there are just some people where I look at them and it's like I immediately dislike them. Some people may think that's unfair, but I just think it's pattern recognition. I just think if you want to look insane, it's probably because you are. But Daphne rejects Velma because you're just not positive enough for me. It's like, come on, have you seen her face? If you look like Velma, you'd be miserable too.
Still, as my girlfriend, can you at least try to support me?
I mean, come on, as Daphne, you're not going to give that any second chances. You'd be walking past an upgrade every time you walk past a person.
Fine, but only as your girlfriend. As a friend, I still hate it.
Blessing.
It's okay, love. Everyone hates you anyway.
And as your best friend, I am gonna prove that this is not who you are.
Because I know who you are better than you do. Remember, this is somebody who thinks they know the best takeaways. Norval, though, has started hallucinating again, which means everything he did for the entirety of the last episode is completely pointless. I just love it when a TV show wastes your time. Then again, this is Velma. Of course it's wasting your time. What did you expect?
If my hallucinations have completely returned, that means my empathy has also completely returned.
Also says the guy that was stupid enough to do electroshock therapy on himself. If you can't trust his word about neuroscience, whose can you trust?
I don't think you're having hallucinations of Victoria. I saw an energy around you.
Oh, no, she's gone insane again. I say gone insane, she's always been insane. I saw an energy around you. The negative energy. The vibrations through the universe. Trust me, I'm sane. We all talk like this.
Being haunted by Victoria's ghost.
Does she have like a torch in her belt that she can activate to shine up like that? I need to know.
Wait, that makes perfect sense.
Only in Velma would anyone even pretend that made any sense. Mindy Kaling's reading it like this is gold. But Fred's obsessed that his mother is haunting him, and that because she grew up in the 50s, nothing scared her more than food, and so that him snacking scares her away again. She wouldn't want to get fat. This is something that Velma can't comprehend, as she's never had a problem with it herself.
Try and summon Victoria with a seance.
Oh, great. Velma's going to try and summon someone from the other side, and you know it's going to be a demon, because nobody with taste would ever appear on this show. The only people that are ever going to take part in this abomination would definitely be pure evil. But others like, no, that's too 80s, but if we come up with a complex plan to try and hide the fact that we're doing a complex plan, then that becomes a comment on 80s movies, rather than just being a reference to 80s movies.
Ooh, and that's meta, which is our generation's thing.
Wait.
Yes, that's what Mindy Kaling thinks Velma is. It's so meta, it's a commentary. It's not funny. It's not funny comedy. No, this is the kind of comedy that just makes you think. It's a satire that inspires those neurons to activate in disgust.
I'm weird and no one likes me.
That's not true.
Yes, everything's so meta, and meta is witty for some reason we haven't quite worked out yet.
Was that an evil laugh?
What else did you expect from the little gremlin? I'm surprised she doesn't walk around with a spiked pitchfork.
Just getting into the witchy spirit.
At least with Velma at Halloween, she doesn't need to dress up. She can just walk outside naturally. The only time she fits into general society. Now, to summon the ghost, they need to go and find something that belonged to Fred's mum.
And make sure it wasn't stolen from marginalized people.
I mean, his mum was murdered. It sounds pretty marginalized to me. Unless she means because you wouldn't know it was theirs.
Jeez, how tight are the rails on this gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, I guess she is American. So even the country was stolen off the English. And obviously the creepy weirdo has a weird taste at the best of times.
Oh, and Norville, we'll need something to make a pentagram on the floor. Can you get goat blood?
I mean, this is Velma. We should probably be grateful it belongs to a goat. Rather than going, by the way, I can only make a pentagram once a month, just so we're all aware. We can schedule it in 7 days, I think. Well, that is unless Steve is unlucky. I'm just joking. There's no way she's getting pregnant.
Yes, actually. There's a ton of it in the cafeteria.
Why? Has Velma been practicing her home recipes or something?
I'll go with you in case you have another encounter.
Dude, I would definitely prefer to meet a ghost than run into that alone in a dark room. Back with Velma's dad still having his flashback, he was introduced to law school because apparently the chicks go crazy for it. Yes, nothing gets them going more than being able to recite all the different tests for fair use.
Have you seen your father?
Does any child really see their fathers?
I can understand why that might be a problem for you. It's a bit more of a niche issue though. It's not normal, but then again, neither are you. If Velma was my daughter, I'd definitely be popping out for a pint of milk. So Velma and gang come up with a plan to prove that this isn't real. We're gonna pretend that a spirit is coming through from the afterlife, but actually, the person's alive. It's Darren Brown all over again.
Idiomotor suggestion. You do actually push the glass yourself, you just have no awareness of doing it.
Meanwhile, Fred finds his mum's property, which is a locket of her dogs, alongside a perfume.
Creams with whales?
Honestly, I've heard of far worse things being put into creams. The most amazing one being something that started with 4 and ended in skin. I'm like, dude, how is that going to stop you aging? If there was anything that was going to stop wrinkles appearing, don't you think it'd be less wrinkly? Novell's dad, though, uncovers that they're going to be having a seance.
A seance? That's incredible!
I'm sure I've got a Ouija board somewhere that you can use. This is basically the start of every horror movie. It's just unusual that the horrific-looking monster in this show is the main character.
What's incredible is how you ever have enough testosterone to sire a child.
They all inhale as if that's horrific, you've lost your empathy, and I'm just like, how is he wrong though? Really shouldn't get offended by reality here. I'd say I was surprised that the child wasn't a woman, but it is Norville, so is there much difference? If you want evidence of things being a spectrum, just look at Zoomers.
I was just checking that my empathy is fully back, and it is. I can't believe I said that.
But the fact he feels bad about it means that he's got his empathy back, because he had to say it to see if he felt bad about it, I guess. Aren't you supposed to feel guilt before you do the action? It's meant to stop you doing the action. At least he didn't try and kill him to see if he felt bad about it afterwards. That could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, if he wanted to test it, he could have just pushed Velma off a roof. That way, he would have improved the world whether he felt bad about it or not. But at least she wouldn't be there to see it.
Son, please don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, beat Velma up instead. There's got to be some use that she serves. She's got to have some purpose in the world.
My detention back in the day was so awesome.
Been trying to relive it ever since.
From one line to the next, his entire voice changed. Is that a different voice actor or just a different mic?
If I can help some teens like you along the way, even better.
That is one hell of a difference.
Movie scene ever.
Why are we looking up?
His voice is back. They must have just dubbed that one line with a different person.
Classic.
Then, though, the gang of expendable morons start the seance with Bunsen burners.
Hold hands in a circle around.
Oh, I'm not gonna touch you. Who's gonna touch Velma? Have like a demonic soul taint yours.
I'm getting some real bad energy from Velma.
Who, me?
That's just because she exists. She's like a black hole of positivity.
Nope, everything's normal.
I'm always insufferable.
I invoke a force stronger than any magic. Girl code.
What's that mean? If you get pregnant, you all swear that the richest guy is the father. If one of them posts a hashtag, you all pretend that you don't actually know what she did last summer. Or that whenever she wears anything, the answer is always, oh, you look gorgeous. I would say, does my bum look big in this? But you used to always have to deny it. And now, I guess it's a compliment? Oh yeah, it looks like the size of Pluto. If you bend over, it might actually block out the sun.
Girl code is just a myth perpetuated by early 2000s comedy.
Yes. You can't expect us to have morals. I mean, come on. Who do you think we are? Men? Meanwhile, Gigi, like the horse, is looking particularly horsey at the moment, and grasses up Velma that they're going to have a plan to expose her as a fraud. And some people have a real problem with grasses, but this is Velma, she's just getting what she deserves.
This is worse than when you secretly threw away my clogs.
Wonder if she means actual clogs, or just like Crocs, which are a bit like clogs, but made out of clearly inferior materials.
I know, but you know I can't get behind the idea of ghosts or magic or higher powers in the—
That's because she can't comprehend anything more important than her own ego. Flashback to the Beyonce concert, where she actually has a out-of-body experience.
What am I?
I'm as close as you're getting to Beyonce, kid.
Yes, the show seems to suggest that Beyonce is God, or that God is slightly beneath Beyonce. One of them. Either way, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Mindy Kaling isn't exactly religious, considering this is the second episode specifically hating on it.
This is where you go when Beyonce's music awakens your soul.
That is the moment where I don't believe any of this actually happened, because there's no way Velma has a soul. And so if she's lying about having a soul, she's definitely lying about experiencing this, unless this was the final remnants of her brain cell shutting down. It's like a random neuron firing.
So if possibilities are endless, can I float closer to the stage?
Yeah. Possibilities clearly aren't endless, because then we'd have a parallel dimension where you were actually nice. And there are limits to how anyone, even me as a member of the audience, can suspend my disbelief.
You encountered a power higher than yourself that night.
Yeah, but everything is a higher power than Velma. You could have a rat in the sewer scurrying along, carrying a stolen bit of donut, and he'd still look at Velma as a surf. Clear the way, peasant, you're beneath me.
Concert sponsored by a microwave burrito company. Everyone was higher than me that night.
Everyone is higher than you at all times. Dead, we bury the dead 6 foot under, and you're still beneath them.
You know I'm right. I'm your best friend. I know the real you.
No wonder she got into witchcraft. She's trying to work out how she could exorcise Velma to save the world. I know the real you, Damien. My secret's out. And we get one of the worst written lines in all of history. Prepare your cringe glands, because it's about to have one hell of a workout.
Honor your Beyonce experience and call it a seance.
I watched MILF Manor yesterday, and somehow this show still managed to be more degenerate and have writers that had less brain cells and taste. It's amazing how covering someone in maple syrup can still seem superior to Velma's face.
A seance. That's so beautiful.
I think I'm gonna throw up. The only thing they might contact during this seance is the comedy they've killed over the last 4 episodes. And obviously they start the seance in the most disgusting way possible.
Everyone knows Beyonce's song Haunted, right?
I'd just like to point out that to say these lyrics in a TV show, they would need to buy the rights off Beyonce.
It's what you do. It's what you see.
Somebody went out and paid a lot of money so they could do this scene.
I know if I'm haunting you, you must be haunting me.
Sometimes I wonder what the series will be where I break and end up on the news. I just hope it's not to Beyonce lyrics. Everything I know about Beyonce is against my will.
Did George R.R. Martin finally release his next novel?
Is that because it's so cold, hell might have frozen over? Okay, Mindy, you may finally have made a decent joke. I mean, it wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it's the closest you've got.
Or are my nipples erect because the temperature just dropped?
Probably just because Velma's across the room and it's like a danger sign. They're like pointing to evil, stay away. Now, for some reason, they turned Daphne into what Daphne would look like in the back of a spoon.
Ah, nuts. I scared it off.
That's true. With that face, you could scare anybody off, love. Then there's a load of wind, the lights are flashing all over, and everyone starts screaming.
Tell them you're innocent!
But she wasn't innocent. She literally admitted it to your face before a rock fell in her face. Velma spots a darkened shadow from across the room.
Oh god, it's the ghost! Kill it!
And hits it in the face with a book. It's like Velma, it could just be somebody in the library actually educating themselves. I know you've never read a book in your life, Velma, but some people actually like to improve themselves by learning about things that aren't themselves. Luckily, the person with the now cracked skull just turns out to be the degenerate that deserved it.
I was just trying to catch the real spirit.
Oh, I was just chasing away the invisible spirit that you hit me in the head with a book. Why didn't you throw a book at the actual ghost?
Only thing I feel is a satisfaction of being right.
The only thing I feel is disgust and the ever-creeping darkness tainting my soul. And Velma says the only reason you were hiding is so you could stage all of this with the wind tunnel and screaming. She says this old electrical box could have done the lights, and turning up the AC could have made it really cold. Like, how low does your AC go if it could make you think that George R.R. Martin has actually published a book? No air conditioner has that much power. If your AC can turn your room into a wind tunnel, I want one.
What? None of that is true.
I'm torn because on the one hand, I don't believe her. And on the other hand, Velma's the one saying it. I know there's the whole better the devil you know scenario, but that devil's Velma. Has season 2 topped itself and actually created a worse creature than Velma?
Yeah, they didn't do it, Velma.
They? Who do you mean? How many people do you mean?
You're more off base than when you tried to go to second.
Which one did you end up at? I'm only asking because I thought you would have put that in the show. You've never shown standards before this moment.
It's idiots like you who ignore facts and science that do.
Ah yes, Mindy Kaling, master of facts and science. Rational rationalist, believer of logic. If there's one thing we've learned from Velma, it's definitely that Mindy lives in reality.
Not only are you brilliant, who more than you would appreciate the advantages of being a handsome, rich white man?
That explains the season 1 finale.
I was reminded that hot, popular girls your age don't yet realize how much the deck is stacked against them.
What's going on here?
Don't worry, love. It's just two women making as much sense as you'd expect. But then we find out the real reason for the episode.
Maybe the 80s can still teach us stuff.
No, they can't.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Maybe if you lie to enough people and just pretend it was something that it wasn't, they'll leave it behind and trust us in our new modern ways that don't make any sense.
It's time for me and every guy my age to stop living in the past.
Speak for yourself. The past was glorious. We go back far enough, we can bring back the witch trials. That would have solved this episode's problems right rapid. We need to do a seance. No, in the lake.
And start living in the even more distant past of the Civil War like we're supposed to.
I love like America has about 3 different periods of history that's all they talk about. It's like the 80s and 90s, the World Wars, and the Civil Wars. They were the only periods that existed. But Norval finds the Crystal Cove Insane Asylum records, sees Dane Dupree, and realizes it's an anagram of Edna Perdue.
Holy crap, is my grandma alive?
Not if Velma has anything to do with it. And once again, you ask, I don't know why this thing existed. Did we just want to have a seance to try and prove ghosts existed? No. This series is based more around what we despise. And it turns out it's the 80s and 90s, which I can understand Hollywood's paranoid about, because quite frankly, they were more talented than anyone in Hollywood today. And the ever-present pressure to seemingly replace religion with spirituality, which I suppose is understandable for a modern person with double X chromosomes, because whereas religion is about telling you how you shouldn't act, spirituality enables you to act as degenerate as you want. And for the queen of that in Velma, well, and you can understand why it'd be appealing to assuage your own conscience. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
I'm weird and no one likes me.
That's not true.